Socrates, Freud, a bunch of other white guys who often like to use needlessly complex language that, even if interesting, brings elitist practices into academia and feels pretty alienating to people just trying to understand their point of view. But now there's a new voice on the philosophy scene, Phoebe "Father-mucking" Bridgers.
Hi, I'm Maggie, and today we are talking about Phoebe Bridgers, European existentialism, and genuinely the meaning of life. Let's get into it. I think it would be fair to say that Phoebe Bridgers has been killing it lately. I mean, in the past few years, she's gotten pretty well known. She's Grammy nominated now, collaborated with Taylor Swift, and is engaged to the hot guy from that Olivia Colman movie. Last year, she destroyed a guitar on SNL, and now she has a song in the new Minion movie. So take from that what you will. Now, despite all her mainstream success, I would say that Phoebe's most prominent presence in my life was probably my freshman year of college, when I would turn on her music at 3 a.m. and cry on my empty dorm room floor. It was actually during one of these personal concerts that I discovered my favorite Phoebe Bridgers song. And maybe the secret of the universe? I don't really know. Chinese Satellite, the 6th song off of Phoebe's second solo album, is one of her best, and definitely my favorite. But sadly, I don't hear it talked about that much, which is fair because I don't think she really plays it often outside of her own concerts, at least that I could find, which is a shame because it's great and you should listen to it. Actually, wait, no, don't leave yet. Finish this and then, yeah. So, why do I like Chinese Satellite? A great question, thank you for asking. In my opinion, Chinese Satellite is the perfect distillation of my favorite philosophical theory, the theory of the absurd, which was first presented to me by the French philosopher Albert Camus, a man who, quite frankly, knew how to pose. Now, outside his career as a cigar model, Camus wrote a fantastic novel entitled The Myth of Sisyphus. Not the actual myth, as that was from ancient Greece, and he is a lightly misogynistic author from 20th century France. They just have the same name. Within his novel, Camus attempts to answer what he calls the fundamental question of philosophy, whether life is or is not worth living. And he approaches this question with the perspective of an absurd existence, which he explores within his theory of the absurd. But what is the theory of the absurd? Well, like all good philosophers, Camus never really defines it. He never sits down and is like, let me explain this to you in concrete terms. He just kind of throws poetic prose at the wall and hopes something sticks. So let me give you a few of those little tidbits, and then I will try to explain it in my words. The world in itself is not reasonable. That is all that can be said. But what is absurd is the confrontation of this irrational and the wild longing for clarity whose calls echo in the human heart. It is that divorce between the mind that desires and the world that disappoints, my nostalgia for unity, this fragmented universe, and the contradiction that binds them together. Now, in my terms, and not his poetically pretentious ones. If we look at our world from a strictly logical point of view, we cannot prove an existence beyond the here and now. We cannot prove there is an afterlife, we cannot prove there is a God, we cannot prove that there is a greater plan in place. Therefore, we are forced to live in the distinctly mortal anguish that exists between our human need for understanding and the universe's innate lack of a single provable reasoning. According to Camus, recognizing this theoretical gap and questioning your relationship to the world around you is to wake from a mechanical life. One begins to see the absurdity of our daily gestures when placed against the realization that life is undefinable beyond the single inevitability of death and the toll that then takes on the human need for unity. One day, the why arises, Camus writes, and everything begins in that weariness tinged with amazement. Anyways, that's pretty much what listening to Chinese Satellite feels like. It's this musical equivalent of that endless longing for something you once believed in and can never truly have again. The bittersweet that follows absurd realization. Now let's get to that good textual evidence, shall we? Starting with the chorus.
I want to believe. Instead I look at the sky and I feel nothing. You know I hate to be alone. I want to be wrong.
Whoever our narrator may be, whether that is Bridgers herself or some figment of our collective imagination, they have recently learned that absolutely everything is fake. The stars themselves have been replaced by the plastic husk of a Chinese satellite, and yet they want so badly to believe in something more that they'll continue to wish upon something they know cannot satisfy. They will beg it for an answer, for anything to give them hope, and they know it won't. But they want so badly for that knowledge to be wrong. In the process of researching for this video, I actually found an interview where Phoebe talks about her intentions behind the song, and by golly, by gosh, did I feel vindicated. I couldn't find video footage of this, so get ready for the best Phoebe Bridgers impression that I can give you. So after talking a bit about her lack of religious faith and doubt in the existence of ghosts or aliens, Bridgers goes on to say this: "If I'm being honest, this song is about turning 11 and not getting a letter from Hogwarts, just realizing that nobody's gonna save me from my life. Nobody's gonna wake me up and be like, hey, just kidding, actually, it's really a lot more special than this, and you're special. No, I'm gonna be the way that I am forever." Life is so much easier when you know it has a point. And when we're kids, it undoubtedly does. Maybe it was some religious figure you've grown away from, or a random rule given to you by a teacher, or even the simple fact that your parents seem to know everything. It's easier when your motivations, your actions, the belief that things will get better all stem from something bigger than yourself, better than yourself, because we are imperfect. I mean, we are confused and messy and wrong all the time, and if we are all there is, then fuck. Why wouldn't your heart long for something greater to put things back in place? So what do we do about it? I mean, the song is a banger, Phoebe, but it's kind of a downer. We need solutions here. How do I not feel like my life is a purposeless pit of unnecessary indecision? Let's hop back over to our Frenchman real quick, because in the wake of all these overwhelming realizations, Camus lays out two options for us to consider: hope or suicide. Lovely, I know, but spoiler alert, the book argues against the latter and goes on to make one of my favorite philosophical conclusions of all time. And it can all be boiled down to this: the only logical action within an absurd existence is creation. In his words, plus a little bit of Nietzsche, the absurd joy par excellence is creation. Art and nothing but art, says Nietzsche. We have art in order not to die of the truth. And it's not really some grand idea of creation that Camus ends up arguing for. He more so focuses on the expression of an experience. In his mind, the relationship between an artist and their work is bad when the work aims to give the whole experience in the lace paper of an explanatory literature, and good when the work is but a piece cut out of experience, a facet of the diamond in which the inner luster is epitomized without being limited. He would rather an artist attempt to express their thoughts without expecting to draft some greater revelation, to create only as a reflection of their own human existence, which I would argue is exactly what Phoebe Bridgers has been doing her entire career. Like I said, Chinese Satellite, and all of her music, is the distillation of a feeling. And though it is seemingly an expression of Bridgers' own emotional state, it still means something to people other than herself. I mean, it obviously means something to me. I wrote a whole essay about it. It means something to my friends, who whenever I put it on in the car will sing along at the top of their lungs. And it means something to the thousands of people who don a skeleton outfit and scream into the night like their world is ending. And so these songs, these pieces of the human experience, fragments of diamond made under the pressure of a life lived, contain in them the contrast that is the absurd. Though they are singular creations, made without an expectation of greater purpose, they've buried themselves in the heart of thousands. They have somehow found the eternal through expressing the temporary, becoming something greater than their creator by virtue of those who listen. It's an entirely mortal form of the divine. So there's your solution. Just make shit. Make all of it. The stuff you're proud of, the stuff you can't stand, the stuff that didn't exist until yesterday, the stuff that has been on your mind for years, the stuff you're afraid of, the stuff you don't quite understand. Make it all. Because according to the theory of the absurd, life means nothing, right? At least not innately. So then make it mean something. You get to choose. Make something. And then maybe the next day, or the day after that, or even a couple of years down the line, someone will see it. And they'll love it. It'll make them think, or laugh, or cry, or best of all, it might inspire them to make something in return. Like maybe a video essay. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. Thank you all so much for sticking around to the end of the video. This is one that I initially wrote in early 2021, but was ironically too afraid to film it until now. Should probably learn to take my own advice. But here I am, over a year later, with much cooler hair and a much better outlook on life. So if you've enjoyed this and would like to see more, please subscribe, leave a comment, a like, all of that good stuff, because I would love to keep making it, and that would be helpful in those endeavors. Anyways, thanks again, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.